if you loan somebody money when they're not ready to borrow, when they're not what I would call loan ready, you don't do them any favors at all. Okay, maybe they take the risk and there's a 1 or 2% chance that everything can go perfect. Pat, how many times have you done a deal and everything has gone perfectly well?
Never.
Right?
Never. It just never happens.
All right. I mean, if you find a repair that you needed to get done and that didn't work out, or
Right. There's always unexpected expenses. And one thing that I'd like to comment on, and this is something that I don't know if a lot of investors realize, is that sometimes when they're turned down for a loan, they're being done a huge favor. When I learned how to fly, one of the sayings I used to have was, it's better to be on the ground wishing you were flying than to be flying wishing you were on the ground. And it really holds true also for real estate deals. I mean, I myself, I've been involved in some transactions that I probably should not have. And had I had run the deals through your process, I would probably have not been funded and then, in effect, not have lost money, because I think a lot of people don't realize the downside risk to a lot of these investments. And sure, there's a great upside when it's a deal, but when it's not a deal, you have downside risk as well. And we've all both, I'm sure, spoken to people at seminars that we've attended and spoken at where they have not done well and they have lost a good amount of money because they were probably financed, or they were financed when they shouldn't have, and they were in deals that they shouldn't have been in. So I think it's important when you have a lender that's going to be actually looking out for your best interest as well as their own. It's invaluable because it'll going to keep you out of some really bad deals.
Well, I appreciate that, Pat. I mean, we really try. I can tell you that. And what we're working with is investors in their heart, right? And they want to succeed, and we want them to succeed. And so when they bring us a deal, we're going to look at it really hard, and we're going to see if it can work, and we're going to try to make it work. But at some point, if it doesn't work, we just have to say, no, it's the wrong deal, or no, you are not ready to borrow yet. Okay, and now we have solutions, and that's part of the club. If you want to get into that, we can chat a little bit about that too. But we have solutions for you and help you build up the cash. Number one reason why small businesses fail is what?
The lack of money.
Yeah, it's the lack of liquidity, and oftentimes you could have assets, but you can't monetize those assets, and you can't get at the cash. And what would happen, for example, if you started a rehab project and you're 80% there, but you ran out of capital? How are you going to finish that project, right? Mm-hmm. Now you're stuck, right? You're a boat sitting in the water and there's no more wind, right? Mm-hmm. To push it through and get you home, okay? And we understood that. And for example, and if your listeners call in and talk to some of our national account managers, one of the things that they're going to ask them is about their liquidity. And how do they have access to liquidity? Do they have cash? Do they have a home equity line of credit that maybe they can tap into? And we can talk about whether or not that's prudent to use. Some of them use that as part of the down payment, or they keep it as a reserve funds. Pat, I know you have reserve funds that you keep, and you don't want to get too far extended, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's really important. And I think overall liquidity is probably the biggest thing to look at when you're underwriting, or when you all are evaluating whether or not you're what I would call loan ready. And I can say too is, are we a subprime lender? No, absolutely not. If you have a track record of not paying your debt obligations, you're not ready for us. Now, you may be ready for a course to learn some financial discipline, but you're not ready to borrow yet. All right? And so I think those are the main reasons, the underwriting in terms of the property, making sure it was a good deal, the borrowers, and making sure that they were what we call loan ready. And and they know it. I mean, after you may turn down a deal, and then at first they say, oh, wow, how come you can't finance it? And then you say, well, but look at this, this, and this. And then, give it a week or two, and then they say, well, thank you very much, because I really would have been in trouble. And, we get countless number of emails and letters and so forth with that. And like you said, that's just as important, I think, for our role as a lender.
Right. I mean, sometimes you really have to protect people from themselves. So, okay, so we have this program, and your lending program, and someone calls you, and if they're not loan ready, okay, they're calling you and they're not loan ready, so at this point in time they're not prepared to be borrowing money from you for rehab, but what can they do? Is there anything that they can do to maybe train or get some more information and prepare themselves so that they are going to be at some point ready to start borrowing and rehabbing houses and flipping them?
Right. Well, I can address that. I mean, a lot of people who do call are, in fact, loan ready. So I would encourage people, call, talk to our account officers. You can get the application taken on the phone, and they can walk you through what it is in terms of being loan ready and some of our standards on that. We're dealing with young entrepreneurs or enthusiastic individuals who want to get into entrepreneurship. And I don't want to discourage that. One thing that we feel very, very proud of is the fact that we've always had a mentoring philosophy. And now you are a member of the faculty, and I'm so glad to have you being part of the Brookview Finance Club. That's something that we're going to be spending a lot more time on and continuing to develop courses and materials and so forth. I would encourage everybody to talk to the account managers about the club, whether they're experienced, because we have so much to offer experienced rehabbers in terms of systems and the software and case studies and analyses that you are doing for them and other people that are on our faculty are doing for them. And it also ties nicely into our lending program because once they've been trained, we have the ability to offer them better pricing on financing and discounts on rates and so forth because, look, they've been trained and, it's less risk, and the more experience they have, they should get some benefit to that. And so that works really nicely for the experienced people. But your question was about people maybe who are not, loan ready. And I can give you some examples of calls we've gotten. Lori, for example, from Seattle, Washington, called and she heard me on a webinar somewhere, and she said, well, AJ, look, I just spent $9,000 on some real estate education, and that was all really good, and now I put down $6,000 down payment on a house. Unfortunately, it was non-refundable, and I was supposed to get the house financed, and then the lender didn't finance me, and now I have 2 days to try to close this deal, otherwise I'm going to lose all this money. What do I do? I said, well, Lori, just go buy it with your own capital, and then we'll look at it, and we'll refinance you out in a week or two, and you'll be fine. Well, but AJ, my husband and I don't have any capital. What do you mean you don't have any capital? Well, we may have 10 or 20,000 saved up in a 401k, but that's all we have. That's it. That's our entire savings. Lori, dear woman, but Lori, listen to me very, very carefully. You are not loan ready. You should not be borrowing. Now, it's fine, go take the real estate education and all that and get trained to analyze deals and know how to look at properties, but you're not ready to sign on the bottom line. I mean, she was looking, how do I get saved, save the day for one transaction? And it's too risky, right, Pat? I mean, things could go wrong.
Get a lot worse. You're trying to save it, and then you actually can be in worse shape than you would have been if you just sort of, did something more conservative from the start.
And we see that all the time. Another example of a gentleman who participated in the club, and he lost $10,000, and he's young, and this $10,000 was his tuition money. And so we see these types of things day in and day out. And so the club, the finance club, and it's called the finance club for a reason, is really the formalization of something we've been doing over the years, right from the beginning in terms of mentorship. But today, the market is different, as you know, right? The marketplace is much more challenging, and appreciation is not going to save a bad deal, right? At the end of the day, you could make a mistake back then, and the market was rising, and you know what? It could cover up for some of the mistakes that you made. That's not going to happen today. The second thing that's not going to happen today is you're not going to get saved by a takeout lender who's going to be able to refinance you, because the back-end takeout market back then, right, was so loose, was so relaxed in the standards that even if you did get overextended, even if you had a high-levered deal, even if the LTV wasn't where it should be, 9 out of 10 times you're going to be able to get taken out. So either appreciation, or if you want to hold in a back-end takeout market was going to take you out, people were being saved. Today, not so. That's not going to happen. So today, more than ever, we're emphasizing the mentoringship.